Kid Sallee is part of a team that investigates and surveys examples of rock art, otherwise known as petroglyphs. They're closer than you think they are.
Okay. Well, good evening. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Kansas petroglyphs. You normally think about petroglyphs being in California or certainly west of here, but believe it or not, within an hour's drive of Hutchinson, I can show you some marvelous petroglyphs most people don't even know exist. I'm an avocational archaeologist with the Kansas State Historical Society, and so I've been doing this for about 25 years. Here you see, if you can make it out, this is a big sandstone, Dakota sandstone formation with several springs coming out of the bottom. And I have found in doing my surveys, this is where we find a lot of these petroglyphs in these hidden places like this. You can see here, hopefully, we have two four-legged animals. The one on the right is much older. It's a depiction of what we feel is a horse. Now, if you look on the left, that person had a lot more artistic ability. It's more stylistic, and that one is out exposed on the rock. The other one is inside a cave. This little fellow on the left is buried deep inside a cave, out of the elements, and he is sure a curious little fella. He seems to have bunny ears and a cute little nose, but he's carrying a staff. We really don't know what he represents. The cool thing about this is a lot more questions than answers. Here you see some different designs, and there seems to be a staff with some sort of a serpent around it there. This is some sort of a, looks like an eye almost, but these happen to be in Rice County. This here also is, you notice on the left, this probably depicts a warrior at one time where they wore the chest plates with the different narrow beads on them. This is another older one that sits outside. It looks like a face, perhaps with rays coming off of his head. This guy started all this for me. That's a shield. His head is up at the top, and he has a long spear going through. And unfortunately, this is not a site that is well protected. He's been hit by a couple of 22 shells there, and he's starting to degrade, so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is just another picture of what's going on around him. But this guy allows us to date this site because that shield is huge. So we know that this was probably made prior to the horse, which makes it about 400, 500 years old. These are, we see a lot of this stuff on the left that looks like tally marks or hash marks of some sort. You see it lays just right beside the fellow with the spear. And you can see the spear quite plainly up at the top there. On the left is how it looks today. If you can make it out, it's a little dark, but that's how it looked back in 1976 before the local people started shooting at it. So that gives us a good idea of how much it's degraded over the years, and that's kind of what my team does, is documents that degradation. This is another site. You can see what I feel to be pretty plainly a fish, and I can tell by the patina on the rock that it is a very old petroglyph. That, to me, on the left seems to be a phoenix, a bird. You can see what appears to be a thrush here on the right. What you see on the left is what we call a vulva form, depicting a woman's anatomy. We see a lot of those. We've even seen those in the caves in France and Spain. There's another, wish I had a little pointer. If you can make her out, there's a woman standing there with her arms outstretched like this, and the sun is up at the top, and we can't quite make out what she's pointing at the bottom. But she's got I know you can't see it, but she's got another vulva form on her. This is a snake. This snake is carved in the rock. And we measured it out. It measures 42 meters. So it's quite large. And it's one of those things where you wonder, well, why did somebody take the time to do this? Because it would take a lot of time. And it splits into two, as you can see here. Very unusual things intersected that we can't understand why. But that's the way why I love petroglyphs, because you never really find a definitive answer to any of these things. I have sketched out some here to show you a little bit clearer what we're looking at. There's obviously a bird there, and there's the what looks to me like a thrush and an owl on its side. So it tells me that to do this kind of work, nature was very important to these folks. There's the fish. By the way, these are very, very close to a natural lake of these petroglyphs, and what looks to be a large thunderbird of some sort here on this side. Very interesting. If you can make this out, these are arrows. We call it the broken arrow site. What we found fascinating about this is we see these arrows and the fletching. You can see the fletching and the arrow points. These are exactly the same design as some we found 10, 15, 20 miles away. So was the same fella doing this or what? This, if you can spot him, this is in a cave up north of here quite a ways. What we feel it probably is a conquistador sitting on a donkey. And can you see the Spanish saddle? And he seems to be holding something in his hand. Just outside the cave where that gentleman is, there's a very large, you can see the set of eyes, you can see the mouth, and he even seems to have a mustache. And you can see his nose right above there. But this is huge. This is probably 10 feet, the mouth is probably 10 feet wide. Thank you.